Shalom ladies, welcome to Far Above Rubies. Today we're going to talk about soul ties. How do we prevent them and how do we break them if we already have them? A soul tie is a connection between, a spiritual connection between between two people, usually formed by sexual intercourse. I personally believe a soul tie can be formed in other ways, but in this particular video, we're going to be talking about the soul ties that are formed sexually. There are good and bad soul ties. The good soul ties are the ones that you form with your husband, the ones that are formed within the sanctity of marriage. Being connected to your husband is something that you should want. You should want to be physically, emotionally, and spiritually connected with your husband. But you don't want to be emotionally, spiritually, and physically connected with men who are not your husband. So avoiding premarital sex is the way to prevent soul ties. That is the number one way to prevent it. You can't really prevent it in any other way. There are women who would like to say that they don't have soul ties because they are not consciously aware of their soul ties. So they feel like they can have sex with whoever they want. They don't have to have an emotional connection with them. They don't have to be in love or whatever. They can just enjoy the sexual experience and then move on with their lives and never, want to be with the man again. So they feel like they don't have any soul ties because they're able to do that. But the thing about soul ties is that they're not always a conscious thing. Most of the time they're not a conscious thing. Even when you are married and you have a soul tie with your husband, you are not consciously thinking about the soul tie. So it is not something that we are just thinking about every day or all day. It is a very subconscious thing. Our brains are recorders, so everything that we do is recorded into our brain. Just because we can move on to the next day and not think about everything that we did the day before doesn't mean that we don't remember what we did the day before. It is still in our brains. So it's almost like whenever you hear a certain song that you probably used to like when you were a child, even though it may be 20 years later, 30 years later, when you hear that song, it takes you back to your childhood, because even though you don't think about that song all the time or think about your childhood all the time, when you hear the song, it brings you back because those memories are still in your brain. That is how soul ties work. When we sleep with a man, that experience is still in our brain, whether we consciously remember it or not. It's still there. What led up to it is still in our brain. The experience of sleeping with him is still in our brains. How he looked or what size he was or whatever is still in our brain. Also, if the man has put his DNA inside of you, that is still inside of you too. So basically saying that you don't have soul ties is like saying, I don't remember who I slept with. I don't remember what it was like. I don't remember how I felt about it. I don't remember how I felt about him. I don't remember anything about it. All of that stuff is just gone away. And we know that that is not true. So anything that we do is recorded. It is in our brains. It is in our psyche. So to say that you do not have those things in your psyche is just false. So like I said earlier, the only way to prevent that is to be abstinent. Whether you are a virgin or if you are currently sexually active and you want to get rid of soul ties, the first thing you're going to have to do is stop having sex. If you are a believer in the Bible, like I am, you are going to have to repent and to ask God to restore your mind and your original mind and spiritual state back to you. Now, the thing about that is that after you repent and you have been repentant for a while, you will notice yourself changing. You will notice that you are thinking differently, that you are viewing things differently, that you view sex differently, that you view chastity differently. You will notice that, but you will also notice that there are still things that you basically things that have maybe affected you from your past, and those things are still there. So I know a lot of people might have different opinions about this, but my perspective is that when you repent, there are certain things that just don't go away. There are certain consequences to sin that do not go away. But what we should do is we should do what we can to reverse those effects. Like, for example, if you have trust issues from your past experiences, you should do what you can do to address those trust issues. If you have impaired judgment, you should address that. So you have to be aware of all of the problems that you've developed from your past, and then work on those problems and try your absolute best to reverse them, which is going to take a while and it's going to be hard, but that is the only way you can really reverse a soul tie. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If so, please like, share, and subscribe to Far Above Rubies, and please check the description box for the link to my book, Far Above Rubies. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.